Hey everyone, Coty here, and this was the only place I could find that I could record this video in some peace and silence. So I just wanted to give my thoughts regarding AI and the future of AI, but also its uses and kind of my stance on it. And there's a reason I'm bringing all of this up. I'm not just talking in the void. Ultimately, what I want you to take away from this video, just to give you kind of the summarized version, is that we are greater than AI. You, as a creator, probably are greater than AI. So let me kind of back up and explain why I'm making this video. So a couple years ago, when AI really started coming out, actually even before ChatGPT was released in 2022, I was using an AI called Writer. I was just kind of testing it out because they were really kind of coming out and being like more known, I think, in 2022 with like Jasper and then the one that I used, Writer. But I'll back up even before that. So back in 2022, I started writing poetry, and I put in quotations because you could argue it's not poetry. That's fine. It's more prose than poetry. But I ended up writing quite a bit. I ended up doing 5 books that year, and all of it is like poetry and prose. But as I was writing one of my books, I believe it was Last Light Before Extinction, I started testing out the AI stuff. And I used Writer, and I had it write me a poem about the fall and falling leaves and stuff. And when I had it write the poem, I was actually kind of impressed with the results. And again, this was 2 years ago. And so I put that poem in the book, said that it was generated by AI, and even said, like, if this is decent now, then the future is probably AI. It's probably automated. Well, sure enough, I was right. And at the time, I didn't really think much of it. I just I put the poem in there, and, that was it. But then later that year, ChatGPT, Midjourney, all that stuff started surfacing, and, it kind of went off the rails. Now, over the last almost 2 years, obviously, AI is very readily available. It's very prevalent. It's seeped into literally everything that we do. It's in the text, the videos, the images, the music, everything. And I think it has a place. But I want to kind of back up and talk about my experience with it and why I'm making this video. So after ChatGPT became readily available, I had ChatGPT help me write a book. So I wrote those 5 books of poetry and prose all by hand. That was all me, all creativity. And I was really proud of those books. But after the 5th one, even going into the 5th book that I was running out of ideas. Like, I was just kind of running dry. And I was trying to, put myself into a mental state, like a flow state, or, just a productive state to really write more poetry and poems. Like, I would continue to throw up at the computer, and I just couldn't think of anything. They were really bad. So, I just kind of tapped out after a while. And so, kind of experimenting with the AI stuff, I was like, I wonder if I could, since I had written that one poem with AI, could I write a whole book? And I'm not talking to like a long book, but even like a shorter book. And it turns out, yes, you can. So I wrote this book, Endless Night of Infinite Dark. And this book is not very long. It's only 45 pages. So it's really a booklet. But that book is written with mostly AI. Now, I did write some of it myself. I did edit it all. So I did go through every single poem, edit them down, rearrange stuff, add, subtract, and write some of my own lines. But I would say probably 80% of that book is AI. And to be fair, I actually really like a lot of the poems in the book. And so it kind of made me question, what is the role of AI in the future? And then again, this was back in 2022. Actually, I think this one I finished in 2023. Let me take a look here. Yeah, 2023. So I finished it up in 2023. But regardless, I was like, if this is good, not great, but good enough, what is the role of the future? So over the last year or so, I've been using it more and more. I used it to, I've used Midjourney and DALL-E to make images. This cover is actually a Midjourney image that I turned into a book cover. And it's okay. This was actually early Midjourney, so it's a lot better now than it was, back when I first started using it. And I've tried to use it for other projects. I've used it to create like videos. I've used it to create music, to do voiceovers, to do the text, like ebooks and stuff like that. And I would say that currently it is passable, right? So you could read the book, you can look at the images, all of that, and it's passable. Like there's a lot of people right now that are being successful with AI generated content. And I think that the problem with this, I'm going to turn this gain down a little. I think that the issue here is that AI is kind of like the new crypto. Like, although I think AI is here to stay and it's going to get better and better over time, unlike maybe crypto, I think that AI, there's still a lot of hype around it. And I think that over time, it is going to get better and better. Like it's going, Sora's coming out. So it's going to have, we're going to have more, video generation. It's probably going to replace a bunch of jobs, replace a bunch of, people. But as I was using this content, like more and more, two things kind of occurred to me. The first was the implications. And so I know a lot of artists and a lot of authors are upset with, Midjourney and with OpenAI for scraping tons of content in order to be able to generate at least the basis of their generation models. And rightfully so. I've even seen some of the images compared to what generated for me versus what people had already created on like ArtStation. And I could understand it. And so the last year, I've really kind of wrestled with that. Like, is it okay to use these images, even if you're not selling the images, if you're just using it for personal use, or, if you're using it for a project where you're not selling that project, or at least not selling it directly, is that okay? Sure, these models probably give you commercial rights, but they're giving you commercial rights to altered photos of other people's work. So the implications of that started to kind of weigh on me. So I've really kind of wrestled with that over the last year, whether or not it's even okay if we should use this type of content. The other thing that arrived to me is how dreadfully generic and repurposed it looks, and how AI tends to have this like mark on it that when you see it and you've seen enough of it, it's there. And it's becoming saturated. So it's like everywhere I look, you can tell content that is written by some kind of language model or AI. And this has really started to bother me. I was trying to write some books with AI, and I did. I actually wrote a few ebooks, but I'm not proud of them, right? So I have them and I mark that I used AI to write them. So I'm, very upfront with people. And they do serve a purpose. They do, kind of serve the purpose that I intended to have them serve, which is to convey information. So I think that AI definitely can do that. But they lack so much personality. They are dreadfully boring. Even if you get the AI to write in a specific style, or, a tone of voice or whatever, there's two problems that arise. One, it goes back to the same cliches over and over and over. If I have to see the word tapestry written by ChatGPT one more time, I'm probably going to pluck my eyes out, because I cannot stand that it says everything is a tapestry and blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't matter whose style or what type of tone I have it right, it still tends to use the same words. Like it changes a lot of them, but it falls back on the same things. That's the other thing, is that it uses the same structures over and over and over, and you really, really, really have to guide it. And a lot of people are like, well, you have to train the AI. You have to really give it, very clear directions, just as if you were, outsourcing something. Okay, that's fair, but you have to do that every time, or you have to train it and have it trained over and over again, or you have to train it on tons and tons of data. At that point, are you really not just having that machine do all that anyway? What's even the point of you being creative at that point? Now, this video is not to bash AI or say we can't use it. And it's not to say that it should be glorified. The point of this video is that I think that it has a place, but it will never create something that is of human quality, if that makes sense. It might get really close. But I want you to think about this for a second. Imagine a world where everywhere you look, everything you see, every image, every video, every song, every voiceover is AI. Now, it probably will get to that point. Like, Disney or some of these major studios are probably going to have AI generated, films with images, with voiceovers, with all of that stuff. It's probably going to happen at some point. Somebody's going to make a feature film that is completely AI. That is bound to happen. It's an eventuality, and it's probably going to do okay. But it begs the question, like, should we even try to be creative? Like, should we even strive to be creative if AI is just going to take all that away anyway? I think the answer is yes. I think that as we kind of step into a more automated future, that the desire for authenticity and genuine creativity is actually going to get stronger, not weaker. And I think that the reason for this is because as we see more and more of this type of content, we're going to get inundated and we're going to get fatigued on that type of content. I'm already getting fatigued on it. Trying to write a book with ChatGPT or some of these other AIs is just a nightmare. Like, yes, you can create a passable thing. I've done it, but that doesn't make me proud of the work that I did. Now, if you don't have that same ethical dilemma, that's totally on you, and I understand. But for me, it's really hard for me to put my name on something that I didn't create, especially if I didn't do most of the work. This Endless Night of Infinite Dark book is a good example of that. Like, I really like the book and I really like the content, but guess what? I don't feel like I wrote that book because I didn't. Most of the content wasn't written by me. So as I've kind of used it, I've kind of realized like how much the AI just repeats itself. And here's the real issue with AI. We're all pulling from the same pool, right? So if we're all using ChatGPT, let's say, to create the same content, all of that content's going to sound the same. And what's the value in that? Sure, it might answer questions. It might, provide a solution to an answer or to a problem. Yes, okay, that's fair. It can probably do that okay. But where's the personality? Where is the authenticity? Where is the uniquity in that? I mean, think about this for a second. You follow the people that you do on social media because you value their opinion, because you think that there's something about that person that you like. You can watch 2 different videos on the same topic and only follow one person, and you might go into a video of another person then leave immediately because you valued the way that that person presented the information. So it comes down to uniquity, uniqueness. It comes down to there is something about us as people that we value. Now, I think stepping into the future, we're going to see a lot more AI content, and it's just going to flood everything, and people are going to get tired of seeing it. I'm already tired of seeing those AI videos where it's like the images and the text, and I've tried to make them, and they're just lame. It might get better at storytelling over time, but everything, I'll just kind of go into my final point here. My final point is this: everything that you see that is AI, it's bland. And it's not going to be as good as the things that we make because it's trained on the things we've already made. Does that make sense? So everything that you see with AI is a snapshot. It's a snapshot of where we've been, not where we're going. So think about that for a second. The AIs are trained on past stuff. So it's all old stuff. But going into the future, people change. Their creative directions change, the things they go into, the topics they cover, all of that stuff changes. So if you based that information on old stuff, that may not even be relevant anymore. And we have to keep doing that, keep doing that, keep doing. Now, it may get to a point where the AI is caught up and it teaches itself based on what we're already doing. But if that's the case, then it's always playing catch up. And the creations that AI creates are really creations of a creation, if that makes sense, right? So we're not creating it, so it's not a creation of us. It's a creation of a creation. So really, it's a shadow of a mimic of a creation. It's not even what we make. It's what it decides based on code makes. What is my point? What let me drive this home. We are greater than AI. AI is going to take away jobs. It's going to create amazing things. It's going to create stuff that's, good enough to consume. But it will never replace the uniqueness of the individual person. Every person is unique. There are billions of people and everyone has a unique perspective. But the AI, even being trained on all that stuff, is only going to output the same stuff to every person. Even if it's just slightly different. There is no uniqueness. We're all pulling from the same pool. So here's what started this video. Here's what prompted this. I wrote a book called How to Pray Out Loud. And I'm not telling you so that you'll go buy it, but it is on Amazon if you're interested. In that book, I did not write it with AI at all. I wrote the entire book myself. It's not a long book. It's like 80 pages. But I am really, really proud of that book because my personality is in that book. When you read the book, it sounds like me. And recently a friend of mine, she's not like a best friend, but, someone I know well, she purchased my book to support me. And I saw her yesterday and she's like, I picked up your book. And I'm like, well, thank you. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate that. She's like, what I like about it is when I read the book, I read it in your voice. She's like, when I read this book, it's as if you're speaking to me directly. And I have to say that that's probably one of the greatest compliments I have ever received as an artist or an author, is that when they look at that thing, they think of me, the creator. But if I read something that's written by ChatGPT, I know it's written by that, and it actually turns me off. Now, I'm not saying, again, I can't use it, but it's really hard to put my name on something I didn't create. And again, everybody feels differently about that, but I look at the future, and it's just going to be so much. It's only getting easier and easier to create more noise with all of this stuff. It's going to be inescapable. Ubiquitous, even. And in a world that is flooded with AI content, then the creativity, the unique creativity of the individual is going to stand out even more. That's just my assumption. That's kind of my prediction. I could be wrong. It could erase all need for, unique creativity. But I think that people are going to value it more than they used to. That's my hunch. Maybe not right away. Maybe not in the short term, the next year or two, but eventually as AI content is just everywhere, I think that people are going to value unique creativity more. So that's just my prediction. That's my hope, honestly. I think that right now, I'm not against AI at all. I'm not against people using it. I'm not against using it myself. I still use it. I use it to help generate ideas and outlines, but I really cannot stand using it to create the actual content itself. Like I'm just so tired of seeing the same words and phrases and structures used over and over and over for every project that I ever try to make with AI. And I'm just done. It gets old. It gets old saying the same thing over and over again. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just complaining and I wasted your time. If I did, I apologize. What are your thoughts? I really want to know if you made it this far, what are your thoughts on AI? Especially for content creators or creative, people like us, like authors, artists, things like that. Designers. I'm curious to know what you think. So please leave a comment. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.